Let's talk about branding for a couple of minutes here. Personal branding. What is your tips on exposure or influence? Everybody's always wondering, how do I build that brand? So if we were, one of the questions here that we had down was 5 tips, but just give us some idea from you on the best way for somebody listening to get started for building out that exposure in their brand.
Absolutely. So step one, you want to develop a level of mastery around a skill or a set of skills, right? And you want to do what I call testimonial stacking. So once you go above and beyond for that client, or maybe you got to volunteer early on, you don't have any clients, then you need to get the testimonial. You're checking. So when you check in to see how things are going, you've already been crushing it. So now we're going to get a testimonial from them in exchange for the feedback. How's everything going? Oh, Jerry is loving Cauveé. Okay, cool. Could you do me a favor? Sure.
Right.
What do you need? And you get the testimonial, right? So that's number one. Number two, you want to really master what we call relationship acquisition. So it's relationships drive revenue. And by doing that, you're always being of value before you're asking for something in return. Okay. So now you've got your testimonials. Now you've got a level of mastery around what people call sales. We don't call sales because that's just an outdated word. And then you're developing relationships because your network is your net worth, right? Now, number 3, you got to build your authority. And to build your authority, you need other sites to validate those skills that you have. So for me, getting on Huffington Post as a coach was step number 1. Number 2, I wanted to be leveraged as a speaker. So where do you do that? TED, right? It's a platform that everybody knows. So you want to be on an authoritative site that can validate that branding. And then going back to the testimonial stacking, now you're leveraging your credibility stack. So when I go and talk to people now and I say, hey, I'm a Huffington Post strategist, coach, or I'm a TED speaker, people automatically like, okay, Cauveé's got something to offer me.
Yeah.
And that is how you start building that brand. And you just keep doing that over and over and over. And eventually your awareness starts to spread.
You used a word there, relationship, when it comes to sales. Again, I've been in this game for a long time, and I've owned a dozen companies, and so sales is critical. And one of the things that I get pushback on, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Sure.
On new entrepreneurs, I always tell them, you're going to start your company. Whatever the company is that you're doing, you have to sell that company. You have to sell that product. But for most product selling, it's still a one-on-one relationship business. So
Absolutely.
You can't just make a YouTube video. You can't just start an Instagram. You can't just start commenting on Twitter. You have to actually go sit down and sell what you're doing. Sell what you have to that person, or you have to get them on the phone. You can't avoid having conversations and building those relationships. I get a lot of pushback because it's, we're such a social media world today. That's not been my social media is important. We're sitting here doing it. I don't want to say it's not, but I think there's this idea that all I got to do is do a YouTube video, get an Instagram up, and start my Twitter, and the sales are just going to start pouring in. That's not been my experience. What would you tell somebody who would think that?